John Fath, and Marcel Lebre. Please be welcome on stage. Hello.
By order.
Yeah, by order. So again, as you know, Diogo unfortunately cannot join us in this as well. So please take it away whenever you feel like to. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon.
Water?
Sim, obrigada.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to first welcome this amazing panel. Please get some water, it's super hot in here, for sure. I want to thank Gulp as well and iMatch for enabling and bringing to life building the future, and not just building the future, but this specific track, right? The startup world, right? The amount of insights and information that we gather here from different panelists has been exceptional, right? And I think it's very valuable that we continue with this, right? For me, it's an absolute pleasure to be here with such firepower of a panel. Unfortunately, we don't have Diogo here, right? Which was initial part of these conversations. He has some personal issues that requires him to not be here with us. We wish him well. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking a little bit about startups, scale-ups, and how do they transform industries? How do you navigate growth and the challenges that come with it? And most of all, how do you scale responsibly, right? So I don't want to waste any time. We have a lot of very interesting insights to listen to. And let's take it from there and start in the very beginning, right? I think it all starts with the mindset. And John, when I think about mindset and the beginning of all this adventure that people embrace, Rover has been known for the disruptive thinking, right? I think there's great stories about what Rover has been doing. What can large corporations learn by the engagement that you have with them, especially when you collaborate doing innovation? And what are some of the key barriers that you found when you try to transform such an industry?
It's a great question. I think if there is one thing that startup needs to understand and do well is partnerships, because Rover specifically, I came here alone. I didn't have a network, I didn't have a team. I started with a desk, and the only way to go fast to market and to be able to experiment and to learn was partnership. So for those who don't know Rover, we are building a super app destination, and the audience is the SMEs, small and medium enterprises in Europe. We start in Portugal, and within this super app, you can do invoicing, expense management, banking, accounting, and company creation, for instance. By nature, the product we are building is a pretty complex structure, and to start fast, we cannot hire lawyers, accountants, bankers, right? So we had to partner pretty fast with the community. We went live 8 months after arriving in Portugal, and we built it from scratch. So we partner for the first 8 months, scouting the partner, managing the partner, and over time, what we have learned is when that works, we can in-source, and this is the mode we are in right now, meaning we start generally to create innovation with partnerships. If it makes sense and if you can beat the partner, we look again at the user. If you can beat the partner, generally we try to in-source. If you assume in the market that we cannot beat it, and for the user it will be maybe better to have a partner, we generally partner. Right? So if it's an old Japanese motto, if you can't beat them, join them. This is what you have done. The other benefit of this is international expansion. It's pretty easy to, once you have a marketplace, tech marketplace, to innovate with partners in other markets. And some markets you are going to discover, you have to discover by yourself if it's a market for you, if it's a product market fit for you, for your group. Partnership allows you to do that as well, right? So we are able now to experiment markets by setting up new partners. And again, if the partnership works, we might go. We might stay there with the partner, or it doesn't work and we test something else. So innovation is definitely triggered through partnership, and the more partners, the more experimental tests we can run, the better generally.
Very cool. Look, and I love how you led your coming into Portugal with partnerships. I think when we do that, we start transforming industries. And Joanna, this is something that I think would be very interesting to understand from your side as well. You redefine as well. You're redefining the retail sector, right? Through AI-driven experiences. I think it's always very difficult to penetrate, especially those industries that have been established, right? What are some of the key barriers that you found there as well? And how is it that you overcame them to transform some of those industries as well?
So, hello everyone. Thank you, Francisco and Microsoft, for the invitation to share how Sensei is redefining the retail industry. So, actually, artificial intelligence is really at the core of what we do at Sensei, is the backbone for autonomous stores. And actually, the mission of the company is to make shopping frictionless, more pleasant and more efficient for the retailer. But also, we thought about how could we create an unmatched shopping experience for the end shopper. So all of us who shop every day in retail stores, and every time we have to exit the store, we need to face a queue, scan all our items, and face like what is not the best experience that moves me going to a store. And of course, like working with an industry such as retail. So retail is one of the largest industries by volume in the world, and also one of the most traditional. If you think about 15 years ago, you saw e-commerce coming up. A few years later, you saw the self-checkouts that would automate and make the retailers a bit more efficient in terms of cost, like for the avoiding some extra cost at the checkout. But actually, those experiences are not great. So still, we are still at the right now, I think we are at an inflection point for AI use in retail. So right now you have a technology that can make the store, like where 90% of all the retail operations happen, and where it's actually a black box for the retailers. So you don't really have data beyond what enters your warehouse and what exits on your point of sale. And what we are doing at Sensei is to making it a glass box. And we've been, partnering since we started Sensei 7 years ago with retailers. Our first investors were actually venture capital investors from big retail corporations. Mm-hmm. So we had Metro AG, it's a German wholesaler present in 50 countries that operates, thousands of stores, and also Sonai, their fund, Bright Pixel Capital, were our early investors. From then on, we've been partnering with some leading retailers to open what was, back in 2021 when we entered the market, after 4 years of development of the technology, we opened the first autonomous store in Europe. Even before Amazon Go came to Europe, we did it, and we did it with a retail partner that really wanted to, push forward, be really quick, and, change the mentality that the industry is a slow mover. You find some specific, innovators that have been partnering with us. So from Sonai, like our first customers in Italy, we also were, basically disrupting the market by, writing a bit of history, opening the first autonomous stores in the country, in Italy, and also in Latin America a couple of years ago with a partner. So, basically I think that innovation brought us together and made us, kind of accelerate the transformation in that industry. So I would say from capital to strong partnerships to address the market and be first, be pioneers.
Where can people try your store? And I promise Joanna didn't pay for this ad, right? Where can people try your store? Or your experience, let's put it this way.
Yes, so we're present right now in 5 countries, in 2 continents, so in Europe and Latin America. So we have stores in Lisbon, we have a big store in Leiria. It's actually just opened recently with Continents. It's actually the largest operating autonomous store in the world, 1,200 square meter supermarket.
It's a good batch to have.
Yeah, it's great. So if you are going on the highway to Porto, just like make a pit stop in Leiria. It's really interesting. The store is a full-fledged supermarket, but everything is fully automated.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that, right? And I think it's very interesting, the partnership side. But once you do that and you transform an industry, when I look at the segue of this, you have to scale it, right? And Marcel, I'm looking at you because, I mean, you built a super simple way to manage payroll, benefits, compliance for your international team, right? And no matter where you are, right? And remote has scaled at an unprecedented pace, right? Especially in a very short period of time. How is it that you support companies hiring and managing teams globally? But how do you maintain agility? How do you maintain innovation and growth at the same time? How do you balance all of this?
Yeah, it's mostly anxiety driven. Ultimately, today remote is around almost 2,000 people across the world.
Wow.
And it is a fairly big operation today. But the problem, there are two sides to this, right? One is it's a fundamentally big company. From when you look at the size of the organization, what it does, and valuation and whatnot, it really is sizable, right? It's from a corporate standpoint, it's bigger than most companies in Portugal. In that, from on a corporate perspective, it is big. From an execution standpoint, from founder perspective, my own. Something that we created from the ground up, it still feels like day one. It really feels like it's been, even though it's been 6 years, it feels sometimes that it's 6 days. Well, some days it feels like 60 years. But the fundamental of building companies like this is that the bigger the company, the more it dilutes. Right? Initially everyone pulls, everyone pushes, you're all rowing in the same direction. But as the company grows, you start adding layer of people, especially because we still don't have an office across the world. And then some of the initial culture and the things that you do, they become somewhat diluted. And the most important lesson here is that as leadership, you have to keep beating the drums to the execution rhythm that you want. And some people think, well, and I get this very frequently, that people ask me, are you still involved with the company daily? And I get kind of nuts with this, because assuming this is a fundamentally bad perspective, where just because the company is big or is doing hundreds of millions in revenue, that somehow leadership is no longer involved. I'm involved to the point that I'll answer to customer tickets if I have to, right? If someone sends me an email, I want this sorted out, I will get involved to the point that I want to get involved, right? If a customer is asking for something, be it, they want to expand with us, they want to buy something else, and because we know each other, they email me, I'll make sure that it's followed through to the end of time. And same for, if someone is complaining, hey, I saw this, I will make sure that it never happens again. And company was founded by 2 people, myself and my co-founder, and we're still very much in the weeds of every single detail of the company. It is fundamentally important to us that it is still so early in our minds for what we want the company to be, that I think that if we zoom out, this is like day 2 in the journey of the company. And I think the biggest mistake that companies make is that when leadership is no longer in control. So listen, to the end of the day, is like anxiety to be involved in all the things and making sure that you excel in all the things as well.
Very cool. I love the anxiety. It's so true, right? One of the things we talked about transforming the industries, of course, starting with the mindset, transforming the industries through partnership and different experiences. Of course, then you have to scale with this flexibility, agility, innovation, and so on. But there's one thing that the 3 of you guys have in common, is differentiation, right? And John, I would like to understand your perspective on Rova. And in the end of the day, you have maintained a very strong competitive edge, right, across the years, in a market that we see a lot of transformation constantly. How have you kept up with it, right? Especially with emerging technologies and AI and all the bells and whistles that we hear, well, not only here at Building the Future, but all over the industry.
We have always, I think that, and that's one of the things we are doing as a team. I love markets which are very difficult to penetrate.
We can see that.
And Portugal, we acquired a bank in Portugal in 2023. On the 8th of September 2023, it was the first time a fintech acquired a bank in Europe. It's the first new bank in Portugal since 2015, which was Banco CTT last time. We knew that Portugal needed a digital bank, and the opportunity for Rova is to scale this across Europe from Lisbon, Portugal, right? And to have a digital bank for Portugal, serving first the Portuguese SME, but then being able to leverage the ECB, the European Central Bank, and passport this license across market. Portugal, by nature, was a difficult market because we were the first digital bank to start. So we started with a bank as a service that we brought from France. We knew the funding team. We brought them here. It was not ideal, but that helped us to start. Later on, we acquired this license. And I would say that's certainly the main competitive advantage we built. In order to get a banking license, the minimum capital, for instance, 17.5 million euros, just to be able to start, right? So there is a gap which is being created just by the capital itself. Generally, the VC money is generally used to growth, to marketing, to grow the team, rather than have indeed immobilized for capital. So I think that's one of the first things. The second thing is double down in on this play, which is, if you look now at the competition we have in front of us, is a bit less the fintech and the startup of the world, but we have no stronger and bigger competitor, which are the incumbent banks. They have other means, they have other type of balance sheets, they are way bigger. So indeed here, it's more than just putting 17.5 million euros of capital, is constantly innovating to disrupt a market which is hyper-regulated. Right? You have 1,500 regulated in Portugal for 29 commercial banks. This is a market highly regulated. So you need to innovate, but you need to innovate and be able to innovate in this regulated space. So the good thing is, if you look at the way we built it from day one as an architecture able to see bank for the first time in history as a marketplace.
Yes.
And so imagine Amazon with a bunch of merchants around. This is what we built. So we built a technology platform, and from this technology platform, you have access to all sorts of services as a small business owner. Bank is part of that. The good thing with having that in place is you want a credit, for instance, as a small business. Generally, you go to a bank. The bank account manager is going to ask you for balance sheet, profit and loss statement over the past 2-3 years. They look into 20, 25 data points to underwrite a loan. Portugal, outcome of this exercise is 80% of the time a loan is rejected, right? 53 days to get a reply from a bank just to have a go, no go. It's very difficult. You are talking about 500,000 businesses in Portugal representing up to 70% of GDP. It's the same across Southern Europe. There are strong needs in cash, strong need in working capital, and this is generally what they don't have access. The ability for us to leverage the other modules we have within this tech ecosystem, which is generally not leveraged by the incumbent banks, is where an incumbent look at 20 data points, we look at 5,000, because we look at invoicing data, bookkeeping, open banking, accounting, right? And go, no-go decision can be done in 2 minutes. Right? So we are constantly trying to navigate between startup and incumbent and try to innovate in this space. I'm hoping that more fintech will do the jump, because at the end of the day, it's for the user, and incumbent and fintech should be able to participate together in this innovation, and we should leverage capabilities on both sides.
Very impressive. When we look into, we transform the industry, we have the right mindsets, we scale with agility, we have them differentiated, but then we have to maintain it, right? And I think supporting our customers and so on gets into a very different level of what is a successful company or not. Marcel, I mean, you guys support an incredibly large global remote community of workers, right? And I'm sure you guys thought about some problems, knew about some, and some popped up that you never thought you would have, right? How is it that you overcome that, and how do you guys continue to manage that as you grow into different countries and so on?
Yeah, I wish I knew. There's a certain skepticism needed to operate this kind of businesses, which is we don't know what we don't know. But I think the common trait across the three of us is that we're actually very good at figuring out what we don't know, and facing status quo and try to break it as much as possible. And fundamentally, that's that. In many countries across the world, we deal with finding people, hiring people, employing people, paying people. So we cross all the things that you can think of, HR, fintech, payments, tax. We have to handle this times 200 plus countries in the world. There are different regulators, there are different modes of operation in every country, and there's so much you can do from a execution standpoint. There are two things you know. One is that you can't cut corners because these are heavily compliant, world's heavy in compliance. But second, that if you give in, then you're screwed. Yeah. You're screwed with the capital F, because regulators and most institutions are used to paper pushing and bureaucracy. So your path is to create a new journey and show them that is possible, right? And so often the attitude is throw away the preconceptions and the status quo, things that for us are fundamental. But if you come into a country and you try to make a payment, and all of a sudden people are, no, you can't do that. Why can't you? Well, because no one does that. And then when you try to get to the root cause of these assumptions, there are none. And so throwing away the assumption is fundamentally part of how we can all do this. Because the common trait is that we all looked at a status quo to things that was like an impenetrable market, something like, if you talk to everyone, like every single one of us here has been called crazy or insane or don't do that, or like you're gonna fail, no one's gonna let you do this. This is what we hear on a day-to-day basis. And I think what we're very good at is that we play deaf and we do our own thing. And eventually, as you learn, and we're very fast to iterate, try to understand which doors do you knock at, which doors do you knock down, and in which doors to avoid. But we have to do this at the speed of light and iterate as fast as possible in order to build the things that we're trying to build. But this relentless attitude, I think, is what ultimately defines us and helps define success in these companies.
It's pretty impressive, right? And I think this is inspirational. A common theme across you guys is regulation. It's not that it's not an issue, but you guys don't stop there. A lot of people get afraid of it and try to go around or say, well, it's not for me. Did you guys ever pull out of a country saying, no, this is too tough, or leave it for later? How do you guys address that?
Yeah, no, look, typically, regulators are trying to maintain the law. Others are trying to maintain their job. And then these are two fundamentally different things. I think it's important also to play your role in understanding how to build the future. Yep. And for that, you have to bring them along for the journey. The choice is not to avoid them. The journey is not to go through the gray areas. Most often, you have to face it heads on, and then sit down as much as possible and explain the benefits of the new world. Now, in some cases, you're listened to, other places not necessarily. And so you have to keep, beating the drums of what needs to be done, using the community, using their own offices as well. Mm-hmm. But persistence wins. Right? And if you don't go through one way, you have to go through another. But that's Amazing. Fundamentally it. Very cool.
Joanna, once we get there to, as Marcel mentioned, to support our customers, right? One of the things that we do is also transform their experience, right, in the end of the day. And in Sensei, you guys have been very heavy on AI experiences since the very beginning. What is it, how did you guys impact customers? What did they feel, and how did the customer experience actually contribute to your growth and the growth of Sensei?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for your question. So, actually, that's really, our mission is really to transform the shopping experience. Mm-hmm. So in stores, like in millions of stores you have all around the world. And so how we do that. So just to explain to you what is a Sensei-powered autonomous store. So it's a store where you enter, like a regular convenience supermarket. You enter the store, you have no barriers, as today. So you just, come in. You don't need to install mobile applications, anything. Then you do your shopping, like, you just like grab your fruit, you go to the
like
fisher.
stealing, right? You just take your stuff.
You just go take your stuff. The only difference is when you are getting to the checkout. So in a store, like imagine you have really, in an autonomous store, you can have everything that you have in a normal store, and you really don't notice there is technology until you get to the checkout. So, and when you are at the checkouts, it's where the magic happens. And that's exactly the part we love, is that you see customers having the wow factor, and we help the retailer to get the wow factor in a normal supermarket from their customers. So they get there, and magically, basically, the shopping basket, there's no checkout, it's an automated checkout. So you get your shopping basket in front of you in the screen, like without having to scan the items you took from the shelf, so not as a self-checkout, not as a scan and go, not having a cashier doing it for you. So that part of the job is like fully automated. And also, so the staff of the store now, they don't have to, and you can imagine like the big scale of these stores. The store can easily get to 1 million products all around the store in the back office of the store. And they need to manage all the inventory. They need to make it accurate to, have on-shelf availability all the time. So we're getting them some, it's like the staff on steroids, that's what we say. So basically the staff, they get all the information in their hands with the apps that we provide them and with the data about the store. So they know in real time exactly if an item is misplaced or something. And, as shopping experience, so this is really simple to say, like we just like create the basket, show it in real time for the customer. But that part was really transformational for us, for the growth of Sensei. So early when we started, it took us 4 years to get to the market, to develop the technology to a precision level that, a retailer could trust us, their core mission, which is like, they are invoicing to the customer in the checkout moment. And at that time, we were using a mobile app, such as, Amazon Go and other players use. But that required a big change in the customer behavior. So you needed to, install an app. Nobody wants to install an app to make shopping in a supermarket. And the retailers were needing to shift their mentality from being, commerce operators to being, digital companies acquiring digital users for their app. And we thought, like, this is not going to happen. This is going to take ages. This is not going to work. And after, 4 years of development, getting to the market, being first in Europe to open a store like this, having incumbents like Amazon Go, like really developing this market for us, and, making this a really hot topic at the moment, we had to take a tough decision and say, this is not going to work like this. It's too much friction, to have this barrier to, enter a normal store but with an app. We would have to be like Uber, right? Make huge investments to get people using an app, getting a credit card there. And like internally, we said like, we need to get them, to have them paying before they leave the store. Yep. They need to see the basket before they leave the store. Our customers were demanding it. And this was, like our team was like, oh no, now that we were already getting it, we could scale more stores like this. Now we're going to get to, to zero, almost to zero again, because we have to transform the way we structured this. And we did it, actually. And I think it was the best decision we've made, because that gave us an edge towards Amazon and any other competitor we have. So we are the only ones offering this experience, or at least the first. Now you see competitors going after it too, to provide this experience. So you need to have a high accuracy. So we needed to get to about 99% accuracy of detections of the items that people were taking out of the shelf, to be able to showcase them, the baskets, before they leave the store, like almost real time. And that was kind of transformational, because nobody needs to change behavior, and it just makes things better.
Very cool. Look, I have so many follow-up questions after this one for each one of you, but we're a little bit over time. But I want to take the advantage of this to appreciate you guys here, and thank you a lot for coming here. The same to you. Really appreciate the time. I think it's clear the impact that some of these companies are having, and most of all, redefining what it is, having impact, growing and growing responsibly. And I want to appreciate everyone's time and enjoy the rest of building the future as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for coming.